Well, the Detroit Lions announced some roster moves today after week one of the preseason, and we have signed some players, and we've also put some players on injured reserve. So, here we go. Lions announced roster moves. According to Detroit Lions Twitter, waived injured offensive lineman Connor Galvin, placed defensive lineman Nate Lynn on reserve injured, signed linebacker Abraham Beauplan, and signed tackle Jamarco Jones. We signed actually Jamarco Jones yesterday. Now, it sucks. I mean, Connor Galvin, he is no longer a Detroit Lion. However, I fully expect him to return to the Lions. I obviously will pass through waivers, so I fully expect him to be placed on the Lions IR list once he passes through waivers. Nate Lynn, Campbell said in his press conference, most likely out for the season. It's so unfortunate. He looks like he had a lot of potential versus the Giants. He was doing a lot of the Hutchinson type moves. The spin moves were really nasty that he was doing on the tackles. So it's really unfortunate for Nate Land. I didn't really have a lot of expectations for him. I didn't think he was going to make the practice squad, let alone the 53-man roster. But there was a chance after how he played against the Giants. I believe he had maybe 1.5 sacks against the Giants. He played very well. So it's unfortunate. Out for the season. Still on the Lions, but it'll be on IR the whole season. So it earliest he'll return next year. So that's unfortunate. This linebacker, Abraham Beauplan, not mad at the player. I have a problem here, though. Why do we keep signing linebackers when we need a defensive end or a defensive back, let alone a quarterback? Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? We signed Ben Neiman, didn't really need him. We signed Malik Jefferson, didn't really need him. We have Hogan Hatton, he can play linebacker. Did we really need to add Abraham Beauplan? We have the UDFA Duron Gilbert plays linebacker. What are we doing? I just don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why do we keep needing linebacker depth when we have major depth at the linebacker position already, when we could use another corner, we could use another safety, we could use another defensive end? What are we doing? I'm a little bit confused. Not mad at the signing. I'm just a little bit mad of why that position specifically and why it keeps being that position. But we'll see what he turns into. And signed tackle Jamarco Jones. Jamarco Jones is actually a former 5th-round pick, I believe, by the Seahawks back in 2018. He actually played with Taylor Decker in college, which is probably the reason why we signed him. A little bit confused, though, a little bit besides that aspect, why we signed him, because he's been to a lot of skirmishes and practices and stuff like that in years past. So I'm a little bit confused why we signed him for that reason, because Brad Holmes doesn't usually target those type of players. But it's whatever. But let's take a look at Abraham Beauplan's stats here real quick. Now, the guy is a former UDFA. He's 24 years old. He has no career stats in college. In NCAA and college football, he went to Marshall. He had 0 sacks his first season, 3 forced fumbles. His second season had 2.5 sacks, a forced fumble. And then third season had a sack, a forced fumble, and an interception. So, not really big expectations for this guy. Probably just a camp body, maybe a practice squad guy. He could turn into something, but I really don't, probably most likely not. Now, I'm very confused right now. How many roster spots we have open, if we have any. I believe we at least have one roster spot still open because these moves intersected each other. So with the signing of Abraham Beauplan, or however you pronounce his name, and Jamarco Jones, they intersect Connor Galvin and Nate Lynn being placed on injured reserve. But we have not placed Kaminsky on IR. I don't know if we've placed Mosley on IR yet. But Kaminsky will count towards the roster spot. I don't think we have placed Mosley on IR either, so that will be 2 roster spots that we'll get once we place him on IR after the roster cuts. And I believe already had 1 roster spot still open, so I believe once those guys get placed on IR, we will have 3 roster spots open. Don't quote me on that, but Dan Campbell also said today in his press conference that he would be, that most likely the Lions will add a quarterback this week or within the next couple of days, actually. He said potentially probably by Monday or Tuesday they'll add a quarterback. Hopefully that's Ryan Tannehill. I wouldn't be mad at a guy like Blaine Gabbert, Brian Hoyer, but Ryan Tannehill will be really nice to have on this team. But leave the thoughts in the comments down below. How do you feel about these signings? Prayers up for Nate Lynn and Connor Galvin. Sucks to go out that way for both of them. But leave your thoughts in the comments down below. One Pride, go Lions. See you in the next one.